Hello, beautiful beings. Welcome back to my channel. This is another Clear It episode. In this episode, I bring you, I love her, Trina Marie. She is an intuitive energy guide, certified in the healing modalities of breathwork, yoga, meditation, energy healing, and somatics. Her work centers around self-healing, soft living, mind, body, spirit, well-being. Welcome, Trina. I'm so excited to have
Hi.
you.
Hello, everyone. Thank you for having me. Happy to be here.
Yay. So Trina and I met at a workshop that we did last year. Her breath work was very intense. Felt it for a few days. I love it. And I was like, I need to have her in my channel. So let's start with some questions. Tell us a little bit about yourself, a little bit about your background, where you come from, work. I know you came from corporate. How do you make that change from corporate world to energy healing, all of that?
Well, that's a journey. That's the entire episode, part one.
Yeah.
But I'll make it brief. So first, I am Trina Marie, intuitive energy guide, and I am currently on the unceded lands of the Munsee Lenape people, aka New York City. My pronouns are she, her, and yeah, how did I get to this work? I guess this is the version I'll share is in 2020, I had a huge spiritual awakening, as many people did when COVID hit. And previously, I had been doing spiritual work, healing. I've been on a healing journey, honestly, since I was 16 years old. I am currently 46 years old. So that's 30 years of healing, y'all. And there are many times when I woke up and went back to sleep, woke up and went back to sleep. That's a whole other episode we can have about that, right?
Definitely.
I
Definitely.
would say that in 2020 is when there was like no turning back. It's possible that I could go back to sleep, but I won't.
No.
2020 is really when I always like to say I like flip the table. If anyone watches Housewives, very Teresa Giudice of New Jersey Housewives, I like flip the freaking table and quit everything in my life. My over 20-year retail career, which was like booming. I was like famous, like an OG in New York City in my career, globally, actually. Quit that, quit the toxic relationships with myself, with romantic partner of 14 years, quit New York City. I left New York City, went to Cali, and then moved to Mexico, the jungles of Mexico during COVID for a few years. And in all of that time and space, I just dedicated myself to my own personal healing journey, my self-love journey. I got a therapist. I got a self-love coaching, group coaching program. I was like all in. And then I had a dark night of the soul, but I didn't know what it was, a dark night of the soul. And really coming out of that, I don't know if I'm getting too far ahead with the question, but
Oh, go ahead.
coming is really when I came to this work. Coming out of a dark night of the soul is when I found breath work, when I remembered breath work as an ancient practice that I know that I've done in other lifetimes. And it came to me in a moment when I thought, like, that moment when you don't know how to feel your feelings. I was like 42 years old, didn't know how to feel my feelings, like self-regulate. And I started doing these breathing patterns. And I was like, whoa, what am I doing? Activating my parasympathetic nervous system, calm myself down. I didn't know any of this or have any of this language back then. Started doing research and found my breathwork mentor, Saida Foxy, and she had a breathwork mentorship program, and I joined that, and kind of everything happened from there. Everything, somatics, meditation, yoga, really, and my understanding of it and my continued remembering of practices that I've done in other lifetimes showed up after that moment. That's the short version of how I landed here.
First of all, we have so many similarities, but kudos to you that you had the guts and the spine, how some people say, the strong spine to
Yeah.
leave all of this behind and move on to something else, because at that point, I guess you felt like many of us felt that it was not where we wanted to be anymore.
That's exactly right.
Yeah, for me, I hit rock bottom, and I feel like I've hit rock bottom many times, because you kind of like they're waking up and they're going back to sleep, and then what wakes you up again is hitting rock bottom again, and like fuck. Um, but you had the guts to leave it all behind, to have you were flourishing in your career. It's not like you were doing
Yeah.
badly. It's not like you weren't making money. You made the decision consciously to move on from that, because you felt that that wasn't what you wanted to do. That wasn't, it didn't feel like it was what you were supposed to be doing.
Mhm.
And that's amazing. That is amazing. Kudos to you that you had the courage to do that. And
Thank you.
that you are here now, being able to show people that you can get out, and being able to show people that there's so much more to what we see on our day-to-day lives.
Mhm.
I also had that dark night of the soul. It was very I just had one maybe like 2 months ago,
Mhm.
and it's some hard stuff.
It happens almost every winter once you're like awake.
It's some hard stuff. I um I asked one of my mentors, and I was like, I'm tired. When are we gonna finally get through to the other side? Why
Mhm.
does this keep happening? And he said, because you're healing. And then he started laughing, and he's like, oh, we always seem to think that when you're healing, it's all butterflies and rainbows, and you're just high up in spirit, and you feel at peace. And it's actually the total opposite. It's like you're burning everything down. You're
Yeah.
killing the old man and becoming this
Destruction.
new person.
It's total destruction and annihilation of your old self.
I love
Yes.
that. Annihilation of your old self. Neville Goddard says you have to kill the old man to become the new one. And
Mm.
it's so telling, because it feels like you're literally going through death when you're going
Yep.
through this process. So I am glad that, look at where you are now, look at where we are, and there's so much more. There's so much more. A lot more good is coming. And I'm excited. I'm excited for you. I'm excited for me. I'm excited for the people watching this video.
Thank you. I'm excited.
So,
I'm excited for everyone watching this video too. Everything is possible. I just want to add in that, you mentioned a few very important things. Like, from the outside, it looked like really, it looked amazing, right? I had my 6-figure salary. I had a lot of creature comforts and a lot of ability to like hop on flights. I had access to the corporate jet, and that's how I used to like get around to different sites. I worked in fashion, so I looked good all the time. And I wasn't happy.
yeah,
None of that doesn't feed your soul. So it doesn't matter what you've attained in terms of like the matrix and material world and what that looks like when inside you're like, I was
feel
deeply
empty.
I was deeply empty. I woke up. That's what happened during COVID. The wake up was like, wow, I have all this stuff and
Yeah,
I'm so empty inside. I'm miserable. Like, none of this brings me joy, like really just none of it. And so I also want to say that I don't recommend that everyone flip the table and quit everything. That
right.
was my journey. I was also 42 years old. I had a lot of financial cushion to do all of that, and like to just say, flip the table and leave everything behind and
Yeah,
figure it out. So there's a lot of privilege that I had, that I still have, to be able to do that. The privilege is different now. I have a lot of familial support. That's a whole other layer of healing, is receiving and allowing people to support you and asking for help. And that's been part of the journey too. So I just want to offer that. Even in this introduction, it feels like, oh, it was so easy. It was not. It was annihilation, destruction.
yeah,
Still it. There are still parts of me that are dying and being reborn, and somewhere in between, and things that I'm unwilling to let go of. Like, the healing continues.
yeah.
Mentioned earlier, like when you spoke to your mentor, like, it never ends. Like,
No,
healing is a lifelong journey. It doesn't always have to be painful
Right.
and hard, but we're always healing something. And once we feel like we've released something and our body feels safe enough to work through something else arises in the body. This is why I do somatics.
Exactly.
Okay.
Exactly. So when you were learning all of this, how was the impact in your life? Now that you're able to look back from everything that you've learned, how has your view of the world changed? Your view of the need that the world has for this type of work, the need that the world has for healing, for, becoming one with the self, with becoming more spiritual, kind of like getting that your needs fulfilled within instead of constantly going on the outside searching for that.
Yeah. I mean, I believe that this is what's going to change our world, what's going to birth the new paradigm, the new earth, whatever, you want to call it, a return to love and a return to our bodies and a return to earth, which to me is like all the same thing. It's all encompassing. That is really what is going to save us and save humanity, save the earth, just like a sci-fi movie. Like we are on the brink of extinction.
Yes.
I'm laughing out of nervousness and like the ridiculousness of like, I can't believe I'm saying this out loud. And this is real. This is not a sci-fi, film.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, we are on the brink of all of these things of the earth dying if we don't change. And it starts with us. It's the simplest thing. It starts with us learning how to feel our feelings, how to be with ourselves and regulate. And then everything from there. And then that in relation to everything and everyone.
Yeah.
So you see that, this is the somatics embodiment. I prefer to call it embodiment, but we'll call it somatics here. It is how we wake up. It is how we connect. And I really see it as the ultimate channel to our awakening or our individuation, as it's called in psychology. This is how we do it.
Yeah.
We foster this sense of belonging and connection. That's our birthright. That we've learned to be disconnected from the ways of society, all the isms.
One of the major things for me as I was growing up was that I wasn't taught how to feel my feelings. I was taught to be strong from very little. I was always taught you have to be strong.
Mm-hmm.
And that automatically led for me to constantly swallowing up, kind of like swallowing up my feelings, constantly doing that because there was no space for fragility. There was no space for any of that. And if anything, I remember trying to voice my emotions one day, and I was told, you can't say that. You're sinning. You're going against God if you say that. So it's kind of like, what do we call that now? Gaslighting?
Yes.
Yeah. So I know I'm not the only one in this. This world, in some aspects of this world, can be so harsh that all that we can do is just swallow up our feelings. And the more that we do that, the more that our body, because I feel like our body is sort of like, kind of like the storage, like the easy wording. The body is the storage of all of these emotions. And when we don't let them out for whatever reason, they start to accumulate. They start to create disease in your energy field and in your physical body. And I'm proof of that. I've developed some illnesses, and I know that they are because for years and years and years, I didn't know how to feel my feelings. So this work that you do is so important. It's so imperative for people to start to kind of like open up their eyes, do a little bit more research, try to even find out why they feel the way that they feel, kind of like an invitation to look at things a different way, to kind of stop and say, why do I constantly feel this way? What is going on? And then we have YouTube, thankfully. We have Instagram. We have you, like I saw I think when we were doing that workshop last year, that they kind of like put all of our names down. I immediately went to your Instagram and I just felt like, oh, I love that. Follow, it's kind of like you make the choice to start, your own healing. You make the choice to what content are you letting into your life. It's kind of like you make the choice to decide how you want to feel moving forward. Maybe you didn't have the choice to do that before, but now you do, you know? And this is so important. It's so this work that we do is so imperative for the world to thrive again. Because just like you said, we're in the brink of extinction. And if we don't go back to self, if we don't go back to the unconditional love that we carry inside each and every one of us, there's nothing good. Nothing good is going to come out of it if we don't do that. So imperative. So I created this Clear It series to kind of showcase different medicine, different practices that people can use to clear their emotions, to clear their trauma, to clear their limiting beliefs. So you know a lot of practices. You're certified in a lot of different practices. Tell us a little bit about those practices and how they help clear a lot of this junk out.
There's so much. I'll start with my favorite, which is breath work, which is actually just included within every other practice.
Yeah.
So if I talk about different somatic lineages, if I think about yoga, pranayama is one of the 8 limbs of yoga. I don't know why nothing else is coming to me now, but the breath, right? That's the first thing we did when we came out of the womb. It's the last thing we do when we leave this body, right? Take your last breath. So breath to me is the most important modality in self-regulating, right? Yeah. And I practice and teach many different types of breath work, but the one that really focuses on trauma healing, it's called conscious connected breath work. And it's different breathing patterns that really activate the parasympathetic and the sympathetic nervous system. So taking you on this like ride, right, of like creating homeostasis and then activating and allowing your body to like start your energy to start moving through your body, to start remembering whatever is ready to be released. You'll have sensations in your body that kind of like help you to understand that there's something there that wants to be released. And then all you have to do is breathe. You don't have to make a story. You don't have to remember anything truly like in your frontal lobe. You can just focus on the body, the breath, and like let it go. I'm very much oversimplifying this process. But for me, that's my number one tool. And then with somatics or embodiments, same, not same. I'll share a little bit, but I'll spare you giving you a whole like lesson on somatics. The term somatics was coined by someone in the 1970s, Thomas Hanna, to really talk about this idea about how we experience ourselves and the world within our body, within and without. And that was in the 70s. By the time we were getting to the 2000s, it was shaped by many different practitioners, different lineages were added in, and it was just kind of put under this umbrella called somatics. But really, all of these practices that fall under somatics are really old, ancient wisdom, ancient technologies, indigenous wisdom. They come from different cultures all over the world and all different times. And now they're just called something different. And now there's like science right behind it that proves that, this thing does that or whatever. But I really just like to call it embodiment, and what that means to me in a simple way is being present with your experience. So what you were just talking about, how we're not taught how to feel our feelings, we're not taught how to be with ourselves, and like that is that's like 101 of how we, like, if we want to go out there and think about world peace and saving the world, first we got to save ourselves. And the way we do that is by understanding who we are, having awareness of who we are as spiritual beings in a human body, and understanding the way that the world around us shapes who we are as a human being. And what somatic work does, specifically with trauma, is it helps you to understand how your body has stored the trauma, how your body is responding and physically is shaped by trauma. So you mentioned something really important earlier about you felt like you swallow things down. That's a huge thing that for many of us, and a huge thing I work with within breathwork or somatics, right? So if you're a person who swallow things down, then you might practice repatterning, reshaping, as we might call it, sometimes attached to a memory, sometimes it's just attached to your body. It could be then that you do humming, that you do singing, that you stick your tongue out of your mouth, like you do all, you actually do movements that expand and open and take up space, and you do screaming. My latest thing this year has been was having a scream party, right? To like that rage out and give ourselves a voice. And so that releases trauma, that repatterns your body, that signals to your body in ways, or it reshapes your neural pathways to help your body understand that it's safe. Trying to just very simple language here. There was something else that I wanted to share about. Oh, I have this all the time, right? Like caving.
Yeah, me too.
Wish I wasn't, but this is how my body is shaped to hide, to make myself smaller and undetectable. And I could never be like, anyone who knows me is like, my energy enters the room before I do. But because I don't like that attention for many different reasons, some of it is trauma, I hide, right? And I do this. And so for me to remember to be in my power, I put my hands on my center, the center of my body, or the solar plexus, your chakra for personal power. I breathe into that space. I roll my shoulders up, back, and down, right? And open, straight and tall. Feel my feet connected to the earth. Feel the earth rising and meeting me, supporting me, holding me, feeling like my spine and my head, like reaching towards the heavens or the cosmos, and feeling this like receptivity that I have to everything in its existence. So there's just this way of using the body, of even using language to make this connection between all things. That's amazing. That's really my way of, I guess, describing it. There's a million ways to describe it, but yeah, I'll just keep it simple. And I think within the other practices, within meditation, visualization, yoga asana, and pranayama together, breath work and movement is the same thing. You have this experience of, you notice things in your body. What's that feeling, right? Oh, maybe if I breathe there, if I move this, it'll move out. Maybe it'll tell me a story. Maybe I'll remember something that I need to remember. And I want to point out here that I know that we're focused on healing and trauma healing, but also this work is to remember joy. So one of my favorite things to do is like to resource joy and happiness and pleasure in the body too. So it's not just that we're remembering and releasing traumatic things. We're also remembering love. We're also remembering pleasure, remembering joy. And these practices allow you to tap into that as well. And that is medicine.
I love that. I know under the somatics is sort of like a big umbrella that holds a lot of different practices, because I know that even for EFT tapping is also considered a somatic practice. And one of the things that I noticed a few years back when I started learning about EFT tapping was that the connection between the body, the connection of physically moving my body or physically tapping on my body was very, it felt very peaceful to me. So throughout my manifesting journey, right at the beginning of trying to manifest all of these things, I didn't realize that that was a big part that was missing from my healing journey, kind of like getting in touch with my body, giving my body that space, having it feel safe. And like you said, open up and move the shoulders. And it just feels so good. I love it. I love it. I don't love yoga as much, to be honest, but I do love somatic exercises.
I get that. That's another episode where I can talk about how much I didn't like yoga, and I'm a certified yoga teacher now.
Yeah.
And to
I think
practice.
it's because I don't have a lot of strength on my arms. So I think it's kind of hard when I do certain positions. I mean, I used to do a lot of yoga in school, but
Yoga is more than asana. So there's 8 limbs to yoga. Yoga is like an ancient science, like a spiritual science that includes all these different things. It includes ways of being in the world, ways of treating ourselves, ways of treating others, like codes of being, right? It involves movement and breath and meditation and many other things. It's not just like going to a yoga class of what we see, which is part of why I never really also wanted to do it. Is just actually, I think this is actually a good thing to bring up. I never wanted to do yoga. My friends would invite me to yoga classes. They're doing hot yoga. They're doing just every kind of yoga in the world. And I don't ever want to go to any of it because I was so dysregulated and in my sleep, choosing to be asleep, that I couldn't be that still. I couldn't be that much with myself, right? Yoga, even when you're moving, that is it. There's this deep internal awareness that happens. That's very uncomfortable. The same way it's very uncomfortable for people to sit still in meditation, because trauma, right? So I really was avoiding yoga because I was avoiding myself, is a simple way to say it. And so I also knew that just practicing and studying, more importantly, studying, practicing, and then becoming a practitioner and a teacher was imperative for my own healing and growth. So
I love that.
people talk about how yoga isn't like trauma healing can activate, but so can breath work. Some people can't be with their breath either. It's like you have to find the right balance and way to approach. Like yoga can really support with trauma healing if there is a trauma informed approach. You need a trauma informed teacher to offer the right movements, to offer the right guidance that works for people who live with a lot of unhealed trauma.
It's amazing. If you feel comfortable, and you don't have to go into too many details, when you started to go into this healing journey, is there something that you felt that you healed a part of you, something that made like a very big impact? Can you look back and say, oh wow, I used to do that before, or I used to feel that way before, and now I no longer do that, or I no longer feel that way? Does anything come to mind?
Yeah, lots of things, but it's all in recovery. There's
like 100%. Yeah.
When you're an addict, you're always an addict. You're in recovery. You're like never not an addict, according to my understanding of being an addict, which, by the way, I was addicted to nicotine for 29 years. I didn't mention that earlier, that was one of the things that I quit 4 years ago after being a pack a day smoker for 29 years.
Wow.
I quit through hypnotherapy, by the way.
I love it.
So I'm a recovering people pleaser, recovering perfectionist. And the big thing that happened in 2020, and what I realized, and there was no turning back, is that I realized that there was a threat of abuse in my life. So that's the big thing. And it's not gone yet. You don't just wake up and you have a lifetime, maybe lifetimes, right? Ancestors back of abuse. It doesn't just dissipate because you did some breath work, because you're a yoga teacher, because you have a daily sadhana. It doesn't go away in that way. So I guess what I can say is I noticed that there was a thread of abuse in my life, like the way that I spoke to myself, the way I didn't allow, the way I overworked, like I was a workaholic. That's like how I escaped, right? The reality of my unhappiness was working and being really good at working. My relationships, I was in an emotionally abusive relationship with a narcissist, didn't even know what that was until, 4 years ago. I actually specifically got a therapist to help me process the breakup. I had March 2020, it had been 4 months since the 14-year relationship ended, and I hadn't even stopped to process it. I was still working and going to school full time. I was actually studying to become a therapist. And then you see I'm here. I'm not a therapist. I don't want to be a therapist. The journey took me to the healing arts versus becoming like a talk therapist. I thought that I was going to become a cognitive behavioral therapist. That's what I was studying. That's not what I'm doing now, clearly. But that's what I noticed. It's just this threat of abuse. And, I'm a really loving, generous person, and I had no boundaries. Like the thing that keeps coming up for me over and over again is like, I just want to teach people how to have boundaries. And this is what I'm doing. Teaching myself how to have energetic and physical boundaries. And then teaching others, taking others along on the journey with me. So it is constant work. It doesn't end. Like I'm human, and I wake up every day and have to choose positive thoughts. And choose to say something positive about myself when I say something negative about myself. It's a constant battle to learn how to like love yourself, which is so wild. But like I always say that learning to love yourself is the hardest thing you'll ever do in your life. It's the hardest work that we get to do. We don't have to do it, clearly. If everybody themselves, we wouldn't have, I don't know, war. But it is the hardest work. So I would just say that there is nothing in my mind. There is nothing that is completely healed. I am healing, and I'm okay with that. Again, I'm learning how to consistently resource joy and pleasure in different ways. And to really tap into awe and wonder and like things that my inner child likes to do, to keep things light. Because once you're on this journey, again, when your body feels safe, something else is going to come up. And then that, whatever happens to that, it's there, but it may not be like a pain. It may not be a block, right? It may not be a physical manifestation. Your body turn into physical illness, but it's there. You still have that memory, that pattern. You still may want to go towards that behavior or that thing or that person, but then you self-correct because your mind understands now what's happening, right? So I guess that's the best way I can describe, like, I'm not healed of anything. I'm just fully aware and willing to accept most of what I'm aware of the things that are unhealthy, right? I would say I'm actually accepting all of it, but then being willing to day by day choose different or not. Some days it's just like what feels right is to not do the right thing today, and that's what I'm going to do. And it's because that's also part of releasing perfectionism. You can't take those same rules, those survival strategies, perfectionism, people pleasing, and having no boundaries, saying yes to everything, allowing life to just happen to you. You can't take that same strategy into a new life. Once you start healing, if you're creating a new life, those things don't work anymore. So I can't take perfectionism into healing and not allow myself to have bad days, bad moments, make decisions, self-sabotage, go 10 steps back and be kind to myself about it, right? Instead of beating myself up. I hope that answered your question. And you know what? I hope that that's medicine for someone, because we take this healing so seriously. And not another, when we don't get it right, which also I don't like the concept of right and wrong, but when we don't do what we think is the right thing, then it becomes another reason for self-abuse to come in. So
I agree.
The theme is abuse. And at this point, I don't have people in my life. I have really strong boundaries. So there is no one outside of me abusing me. What I am left with today is self-abuse, and continuing to wake up to these little insidious ways that I self-abuse. And it's even hard to say out loud. I just started saying that out loud a few months ago. Like, oh, well, that's self-abuse. And it was like, it like jarred me, right? Like, and
Yeah.
not in myself away, but in a way like, no, this is the truth you need to hear. So
Yeah.
that these behaviors that are unhealthy, that are unloving, that you wouldn't do to someone else. You wouldn't
Yes.
do to someone else this way. Why are you treating yourself this way? So
Love
that's
that.
the work. The work is for me to like unravel these threads of self-abuse that are connected to learned behavior, patterns in my that are have been shaped in my current world, and things that live in my lineage. So
yeah, that's a whole different conversation. Everything that comes
I
to
mean,
us
we
through
came
our
up with
lineage.
already for
Like that's a whole other thing.
this.
It's like once we start talking about this, there's just so much. There's so many layers. There's so many things to unravel.
That's
I'm
right.
glad that you mentioned the overworking yourself because I also did that. I would overwork myself, but for me, it was a self-worth issue. For me,
Mm-hmm.
it was I was looking to feel that I was worthy by getting external validation. So I was like,
Right.
so if I work more, I'm showing to my managers that I am worthy of being here or that I am worthy of that promotion that I'm chasing. And now that I look back at it, I was like, wow, I I could I'm totally the opposite now. It's
Mm-hmm.
like I don't need it anymore. You could give it to somebody else. I'm good. I love it. It's just like I am who I am, and that's enough. And I'm gonna do my job. I'm very professional, do my job as efficiently as possible. But what I can do is enough. And that's good enough for me. And
That's beautiful.
keep it moving. All right. So we're gonna go into a beautiful practice now. I am so excited. And yeah, I'm so excited. I don't even know what else to say. Take it away, my love.
Thank you. So I am excited to lead you through a series of somatic practices for self-compassion, self-love. Um, yeah, I guess I love to say, let's get out of our heads and into our bodies, right? We did a lot of talking, so I'm going to do my best to not over explain things and just allow you to have your experience. You can't see my whole body, but I hope that's okay. You can do these practices in a seated position. So I'm seated on a chair right now.
Yeah, me too.
Um, so you can be on a chair and with your legs folded, like if you're on a sofa. I have a very different position that no one ever tells you to do, but this is what works for me. But I'll give you a few options. You can be seated on the floor, on a meditation cushion, seated on a chair with both feet planted on the ground, seated on a chair with your legs crossed in easy pose. For me, I need this stability in my lower back and like my lower spine. So I have one leg folded and I have one on the ground. So for me, what that means is I want one foot connected to earth, right? I want to have that ground and that root. And then I want to have this support and this alignment on my spine. Even though I have a chair with a back, it's not enough for me based on what my body needs. I've never shared this before.
Oh,
And so
I
I'm not
I can't
offering
do a
this,
lot.
I'm not offering this to you as as a way, a posture for you. I'm offering this as an experience of my body, of my awareness, and learning to give myself what I need, right? I'm not just going to go to easy pose or both feet on the ground because that's what the teacher told me to do. I'm going to do what feels intuitively right for my body. I'm going to give my body the support that it needs because that's what these postures are about. How we're beginning is creating this posture of like connection and safety and belonging. That's what somatics is about. And that's what this beginning foundational posture of easy pose, which is just sitting cross-legged on the ground, or sitting in a chair with your feet planted on the ground. But for me, I need a little bit of both. I need also lower back support. So do whatever feels best for you. But the key here is to really be able to feel that connection from your pelvic floor, your feet, to whatever is underneath you, and to be able to have a long spine, right? To not do that hunch thing that I was showing you earlier. That is my natural, unfortunately, is my natural posture that I'm working to adjust. Right? You saw how I rolled my shoulders up, back, down. And so elongating the spine. Language that I've loved lately, that someone, I don't even know where I first heard this, but it was recent, and someone said, sit back into your spine. And I said, oh, wow. But language is so important. And I'm always curious to hear how different teachers use language for alignment in the body. And for some reason, that really worked for me. Like, gently sit back into your, against your spine or in your spine. And it's almost like you're seated with your back against the wall, right? That's how I feel when I go from just a relaxed posture to like, oh, let me sit back against my spine. It's like, oh, I feel that elongation in my spine. I feel my crown reaching up. I feel my pelvic floor, my sits bones like connected to the chair that I'm sitting on now, and my spine is fully like erect and in alignment. I know I use a lot of language, but this is actually part of like somatics. This is actually part of the yoga that I teach. I teach yoga that is unlike what most people teach. I don't do vinyasa, which is those quick, flows, and I'm actually not into that. I do very slow, static movements, long holds, and invite you to really notice your anatomy and what's happening in your body and your anatomy. So that's how I use yoga as somatics. So I'm going to lead you through a series of about it's about 10 steps, and it's like 5 different somatic practices from different modalities. A little bit of somatic experiencing, a little bit of yoga. I'm not even sure what else is in here, but we're going to go for it. So the first thing, let me get my my thing set up here. So the first thing is your posture, right? And now just begin to connect to your breath. So I always like to say, notice where your breath is in this exact moment, and then start to trace it through your body. Just notice it as you exhale and release what's happening in your body or your diaphragm. And as you inhale, notice what's happening. You can close your eyes or lower your gaze at this point if that feels right for you. You can stare at the screen or one space in your room, kind of like daze out. So whatever feels like safe and right for you at this time, that's what I offer you do. So maintaining this posture, following your breath, perhaps even slowing your breath down a little bit. If you find that your mind is like noisy and full of chatter, that's okay. That's completely normal. Like all of you is welcome here. However you're arriving, you can choose to let your thoughts pass like, big puffy white clouds passing in a blue sky. You can choose to count. This is something I love to do to really quiet my mind. In for 2, 3, 4, breathe out for 2, 3, 4. And just if that feels right, you can tell yourself that. In, 2, 3, 4, out, 2, 3, 4. And just stay there for a moment. Perhaps you want to add a count of 2 to your exhale. So exhaling for 6. This activates the parasympathetic nervous system, telling your body that it's safe to rest and digest. And safety looks different for everyone. Breathing may not feel safe or comfortable. So if that's your experience, that's okay as well. You make any adjustments that you need to feel safe. The key here is for you to feel safe and comfortable in your own body. Keep breathing. Okay, so from here, if your eyes are closed, gently open your eyes. Keep focusing on just those long, deep inhales and long, slow exhales. And we're going to start with breathing in divine light. So another thing about somatics is that it really can encompass everything, mind, body, spirit. As Mariana mentioned earlier, I'm a mind, body, spirit, well-being practitioner. That's, that's really what I do. And why I love somatics is it touches all these things. So here we can imagine that we're connecting with the divinity that's all around us. So we can imagine that we're connecting with this light around us, and taking your hands and kind of just pushing them out around you. If you feel safe here, you can close your eyes and just having your hands out. You can push your arms a little bit up and a little bit down, almost like you're like encased in a bubble, right? And you're touching the edges of this bubble. And this is like you're noticing your auric field. This is as far out as your auric field goes. I like to use a 12 chakra system. So the 12th chakra, this part of you that's connected to spirit, is like the outermost part of you. So sometimes you can feel into that, or you might feel nothing at all. That's okay. Whatever feels good. So now I want you to imagine you can actually place your hands at your lap. Keep breathing. And now imagine divine light just coming down and showering and raining over you, from above you, over your head, your crown, over your shoulders, onto your body. This can look like rain, like iridescent. It can be a golden shower, or it can be like sunbeams, like yellow golden rays of sun. However you want to imagine this divine light coming down and covering your entire body. Imagine this divine light coming down from the heavens, from the cosmos. And now I want you to imagine the same light coming from underneath your feet, coming from the earth, through all the layers of rock, of granite, of whatever you are. If you're like me in a building 12 stories up, all these layers upward, this light is coming from the center of the earth all the way up through the bottom of my feet, up my legs, through my entire body. And now maybe imagine the same light all the way around you. So maybe you imagine this light surrounding you, like that bubble that I mentioned. And I want you to gather this light within. So you have this light channeling from raining down, showering, channeling from the heavens, coming up and radiating from the earth. And now you're going to just like with your hands, gather this light around you. And literally like you're gathering something up. So you can continue this posture of like, like you're bringing it in. However that feels for you. It can be around, it can be down at the ground. You can have your eyes closed or open. Just imagine yourself gathering all of this light towards your heart space. And when you feel settled, when you feel like you've gathered enough light, just bring your hands over your heart, one hand over the other, over your heart space, and just breathe in that light. And just be with this feeling that there is light coming from above, light coming from below, light coming from around you, all radiating within your heart space. Notice any sensations that are happening in your body. Maybe you feel warmth in your hands. Maybe you feel tingly or light. Perhaps you don't feel anything at all. So you're just noticing any felt sensations in the body. Beautiful. And now opening your eyes, if they're not already open, we're going to move into our second posture, and that's the butterfly hug. So we're going to take our hands and interlock our thumbs. And as you see, this is like the shape of a butterfly, right? And so we're going to place the fingertips at this part where your arm kind of meets your chest, right? Like, and this is like 2 inches away from the clavicle, maybe an inch. My ring finger is about an inch away from the clavicle. And then you're going to alternate tapping. You're going to do this bilateral stimulation, simulating the left and right sides of your body, of your energy centers, your meridians, as it's called in Chinese traditional medicine. stimulating in Vedic tradition, yogic tradition. It's called the Ida and the Pingala, or the Pingala. It's the feminine and the masculine. It's the sun and the moon, those different sides of the body. And scientifically, you're actually activating, tapping into the left and right sides of your brain. You're balancing both. Okay, and you can stop here. I did that probably more times than I normally do as I was talking, but just for general reference, 6 to 8 times, right? And this is like left, right, or right, left, whatever, that counts as one. So you can do that about 6 to 8 times. And again, this is just to help you regulate and to balance both sides of your body, your energy channels, your brain. And then the next thing we want to move into is called, like a self-compassion holding. I may not be using the right language, but I'll make sure Mariana has the right language for the notes. So this is a somatic experiencing created by Dr. Peter Levine. There are many. We didn't talk about all of them, but there are many different types and lineages of somatics, and so this is one of them. And so we're going to start by placing the hands over the ears. That's the first hold. And you can close your eyes and keep your elbows up here. And if it feels right, or when you feel like you've gotten your posture right, you're keeping your posture straight, relaxing your shoulders, relaxing your jaw, softening your brow, and then bringing your gaze inward. What do you notice? Noticing any felt sensations, completely covering the ears, even noticing how my voice changed once you covered your ears. Pushing those elbows back. Good. And now we're going to shift to right hand over your forehead, left hand at the base of your neck. And hold. So elbows are up and back. Again, closing your eyes if that feels safe, or maybe staring at one space. Breathe and notice. And there's no suggested outcome here. It's just being with yourself. And this is a self-compassion hold. So what happens maybe when you apply a little more pressure, pressing your forehead, the base of your neck, pushing those elbows back. And now bringing your left hand over to your heart space. So keep your right hand on your forehead, and now your left hand is coming across the chest, just landing on the chest. So your entire heart space, not just your heart, the organ, but you're holding the entirety of your heart space. Breathe and notice. And keeping that left hand over the heart space, now bring your right hand over your belly. So 2 to 3 inches below your navel. Place your palm on your belly. Breathe and notice. Keeping that right hand on the belly, take your left hand and bring it to the base of your neck again. Elbow up and back. Close your eyes if that feels good for you. Breathe and notice. Sitting up tall, relaxing the shoulders, the jaw, the brow. Good. And now bringing both hands to the lap, you can put the palms up in receiving mode. Close your eyes if that feels good for you. Breathe and notice. And here you want to notice if anything has shifted in your thoughts and your emotional landscape. Do you still have the sensation of your palms on different parts of your body? Do you feel warmth, tingling? Again, if there's nothing that stands out, that's completely normal as well. Just breathe and be here now in this moment. Now we're going to move into a heart opening flow. So bring your hands above your head and your palms are going to be facing each other this way. And then you're going to bring the palms to touch and then bring them down the midline of your body and keep them here. And now we're going to sync breath with movement. So inhale, arms up, reaching all the way up to the heavens through that middle finger, pressing the palms together. Exhale and bring the arms down the midline of the body. One more time. Inhale, bring the arms up, palms up, reaching the fingertips up towards the heaven, palm together, down the midline of the body as you exhale. And holding this here for a moment. Again, closing the eyes or lowering the gaze if that feels good. Maybe slightly tucking in your chin. Bringing full awareness to your heart center. Notice what you notice. Feel what you feel. And now releasing the hands with the palms down onto the lap. Palms up is like receiving, palms down is kind of grounding. So again, just taking 2 cycles of breath. That's an inhale and exhale. To notice how you're feeling emotionally, physically. Even noticing if anything has shifted. And now, part of our final sequence, we're going to create this posture of receiving, right? We did all these ways of holding ourselves. We'll actually close with the holding, but now receiving. So bring the arms out in front of you. So your arms are straight, elbow is straight, palms are facing each other. Relaxing the shoulders, softening the jaw, softening the brow. You're seated against your spine. Push those fingertips out. Push, push, push through that middle finger through the shoulders. Do you feel your back opening as you push forward? Take a deep breath in here, expanding the belly, expanding the chest on the inhale. Exhale, softening the chest, the belly. One more deep inhale, fully expanding the belly, the chest. Reach, 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 reach. And now coming in for a hug, you're going to bring your right hand underneath your left armpit and your left hand over your right shoulder. Right hand under left armpit, left hand over right shoulder. Self-hug. Somatic Experiencing self-hug. Breathe here for a few breath cycles, closing the eyes if that feels safe for you. Applying more pressure also if that feels safe for you, right? Holding your shoulder, cupping underneath your armpit. And then bringing the arms back out to release. And we're just going to do a regular hug, bringing the arms all the way out, right? Out, 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 out. Opening the heart space, maybe lifting the chin, and then coming back in for a hug, but a regular hug, however you want to do that, in a way that like really stretches. I'm kind of like reaching my fingertips so that I'm opening my back. So stay in this posture for a few breaths, opening the back. After your second exhale, I want you to open again, and then we're going to switch hands. So open again, bringing the arms completely out, inhaling, lifting the chin, opening the chest, and then coming back into hug as you exhale, but doing the arms in the opposite direction. So if the left was over the right, now the right is over the left, or whichever posture you're in. Again, breathing in fully, feeling the back of your heart space opening as you inhale. And then maybe here, just adding a little rock in. Maybe you want to soften. I feel like I want to change my posture. I don't normally do this, so just do whatever feels right for you. This just feels right for me. Maybe hands over the heart. That's what feels good for me now. Circles over the heart, a little bit of swaying. And when you feel complete, and only when you feel complete, you can come to a stillness and bring your hands back to your lap. And we are complete.
Hey, thank you, Trina Marie. This was amazing.
It was my pleasure. I wanted to say so much. It's such a thing that I'm learning to right? Allow people to have their experience, as I said, out of the head and into the body. But the teacher in me wants to say so much about what I'm leading. But this is really about you being in your body and just having your own experience. So I hope that something in this practice really sits with you. I led you through a lot of different things. You can take one part that feels good into your daily or weekly practice. If the self-holding hug felt good, if the swaying felt good, if this posture of receiving felt good, it doesn't have to be the sequence that you do. You can choose one part of it to practice and play with. So, yeah.
This was amazing. Once again, thank you so much. I know everyone felt it. I feel so much lighter now. Such beautiful. These practices are they're just God sent. This work was given to us to kind of go through everything so much easier. I love it. I am so thankful that you joined me in this episode. If anybody wants to contact Trina Marie, I'll put all of her information in the description box below. You guys can reach out to her if you want a session, if you want to speak to her about anything, if you want to book anything with her. Her information will be below. I hope this is not the last time that I have you on my channel. Have you come back? We have a lot to talk about.
We do. We set that up already. Thank you for having me, Mariana. This was really such a pleasure, such a beautiful conversation, such a beautiful heart connection. I always enjoy sharing with you from my heart. And although everyone's experience will be different with these practices, I'm really happy to hear that your experience was feeling lighter, because we all deserve that.
I love it. All right. So until next time, guys. Bye.